like to call this meeting to order, the Oconee County Planning Commission. It is 5 o'clock, Monday, May 1st. Our first order of business is invocation. Mr. Nix, would you please?
Yes, sir. Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we ask that you please watch over this committee and the planning staff and guide us to wise and safety-conscious decisions in support of the public. We also ask you watch over the county law enforcement, first responders, and other county workers as they perform their duties, that they may return home safely to their families every shift. And we ask that you please watch over the county and state leaders as they work to make the county and state a better place to live each day. In his name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Adams, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nothing like being rushed. Okay. Next item is approval of our minutes for April 17th. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any corrections? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no public comment for non-agenda items. We'll move right into commissioner comments. Number one, I'd like to welcome Mr. Adams, Mr. Haney, to our commission. Glad to have a full commission again instead of the 4 and 5 and 6 that we've had seem like all year. So welcome. We are waiting on your input on some of the things that we're doing, and we enjoy it. So with that, anyone else got a?
Yeah, I do. We need to bid a fond farewell to our former commissioner, Pat Williams. Thank him for his service. We will miss him and his love for ag on the commission.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I like to read this Planning Commission purpose statement. It's the function and duty of the County Planning Commission to undertake a continuing planning program for the physical, social, economic growth, development, and redevelopment of the county. The plans and programs must be, designed to promote public health, safety, morals, convenience, prosperity, and for the general welfare, as well as the efficiency and economy of the county. So there's a whole lot there.
Okay, I got one little business matter to attend to. Just a reminder to everyone, if James sends out an email to all 7 of us, please do not respond to that particular email. If you need to send him anything, do it just to him. Don't do it through that email because all 7 of us get it, and that can be construed as a meeting. So if you reply, you can just go in there and reply to him individually, but don't reply all, because all of us get it, and then this FOIA can get us in trouble. Won't know why we're having a meeting and didn't announce it. So just a bit of information basically for the newcomers. Hopefully the rest of us know better. So with that said, any other commission member comments?
I just wanted to mention about one of the organizations we have in our county. It's called Keep Oconee Beautiful Association, and known as COBA. They were involved in this most recent effort through the Sheriff's Department for a great Oconee litter pickup. And unfortunately, it was raining, and the turnout wasn't as good as we were hoping for, but we did get a lot of litter picked up. And for anyone who's interested, they do have a monthly pickup every second Saturday at 9 o'clock. You meet at the food line that's on the old Clemson Highway, and you go out from there to pick up litter. So I know there's been a lot of talk lately about let's do something about the litter, which it would be nice to be proactive and keep people from littering, but at least we can use our time and effort and leadership to get out and help pick up the litter so keep Oconee looking beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's move right on to staff comment.
Sure. Just a couple of housekeeping issues for you guys tonight. I will remind you that there is a joint meeting Friday with council and the OJRSA. That is starting at 11 o'clock. It will be here in this room. If anybody has any questions, then just make sure that everybody did get an invitation to that. Second, next Monday at 6 o'clock, the Ag Advisory Board will be having their monthly meeting. It will be at the Farm Center. You are all invited to come and participate if you'd like to, listen, learn, support agro business. Also, Miss Alexander will be at your next meeting to give her report from the Ag Board as well. And that's all I got.
All of us can attend that meeting without, as long as it's set separately, we don't.
Sit separately, you just, don't go off in a corner and start talking about planning.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
All right, our next item is the planning commission meeting time. I've had several people request that we move our meeting back to 6 o'clock, due to they could not get to the meetings at 5 because they work at 5 and they couldn't come in, get here and then actually sign up for comment if they so choose. So I need a motion.
I make a motion that we move the planning commission meeting time to 6 PM.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Is there any reason why it could meet 5:30?
There you go. Mr. Nix?
Well, I know a lot of us work till 5 or 5:30, me being one of them. And I know a lot of people in this county do. I think since we give them the opportunity to come to county council meetings at 6 PM, we ought to also give them the equivalent opportunity to attend planning commission meetings at 6 PM.
I do know there's a lot of people that they won't even, they'll come into a meeting, they don't like coming in late. They get off at 5, they get here about 5:15. We've already started the meeting. The sheets are already pulled up, so they can't sign up to speak for anything. And they just, if they can't do that, they just won't come. They'll just gripe and grumble somewhere at a convenience store or something later on down the line. But it gives everyone the opportunity, if we do move it to 6, gives them the opportunity to get off work and get to the meeting before 6 o'clock. And that way, we get more of the public in our meetings, hopefully. That way we can know where the public stands on all the issues that we're discussing at this time. There's nothing else. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Opposed? Thank you. So that means our May the, what is it?
15? No, 2 weeks from today?
Let's see, I'll look at my calendar here.
15.
May 15th?
Yep, the 15th will be at 6 rather than 5. Okay. Discussion regarding 2023 updates to the comprehensive plan. You have in your backup material approximately 12 pages of comprehensive plan strategies, objectives, goals. So we can start down the line and do each one of them one at a time. I have a motion and a second saying that we have reviewed that. We'll take a vote. Is that what everyone wants to do?
I think that might be a little long assignment for tonight's meeting.
That's the way that Mr. Smith was doing it, so.
Chairman?
Under the impression we wanted to do just like he did.
Chairman, I make a motion that we cover one section per meeting, starting with housing tonight.
I think we can combine, I did a little bit homework, and looks like, say for, population, we got 4. And that's not counting the ones that, are listed as annually or ongoing. I'm just looking at the ones that I think that we should review for this fiscal year, or this year, and calendar year. And so anyway, you've got population 4, housing 4, you got 6, 1, 4, so like, for example, community facilities has only got 2, but then agriculture has 14. So it seems like maybe we could combine a little bit more than that, Mr. Nix. So
Make a motion,
friendly,
Mr.
I guess a
Goff.
friendly amendment would be something like, let's take on a reasonable amount each meeting until we complete it. Which to me, 8 to, say 14, somewhere in that neighborhood would be,
I'd just like to go in
Reasonable
order.
amount.
Just start at 2-1, 1-1, and just go in order for a couple pages and see how we do. I don't want to skip around.
Oh, I see, I'm sorry. Population's number 2. My apologies. Let me redo my motion. I make a motion that we cover sections 2 and 3, population and housing tonight. They seem to be relevant to our subsequent meeting agenda items anyway. So,
second.
I'll go for that.
And that's just the
Just so,
2023 ones, not the ongoing ones.
I just had a list. I think if we're gonna do a thorough job, we need to look at the ongoing ones as well.
when you say
You wanna
housing,
vote on
are you
that?
looking at
All right,
certain numbers?
we have a motion and a second.
section, I'm sorry, Frank.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Is it 3, chapter 3?
Mr. Chairman, I was wanting to say one other thing, if you don't mind, just to help us. I helped a little bit with coming up with the different categories with, Mike Smith at the time. And we came up with, 5 categories. And at the time, we voted to use those categories to review these. And so anyway, when we're done, if we put a category next to each of the ones that we've reviewed, I think that would be helpful. And then that way you don't have, you've got a response the public can see. So, I don't know if,
What were those
Did
5
you-
categories?
take a look at that or anything, James. I was just wondering if we needed a copy of that, if we're gonna use the category, but I would move to use the same categories that we used last time we did this review.
What were those? I don't,
I'll be glad just to pass them to you.
We
and
don't have a
get
copy of it.
refreshed.
Neither does the public, so
Can I make?
I'd make a motion that we table this till the next meeting to get that back in our hands and look through it and start, and let Mr. Galvin
Chairman.
go through and decide which ones we're supposed to be looking over and which ones we're not, and go from
I
that
wouldn't
point.
agree to do that, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
So, I know Mrs. Teresa has been, doing these, comprehensive plan goals and objectives. And she had a little bit different format, and I'm interested in what she has to say, as to why we're changing now. I don't have an opposition or an objection either way. I just would like for us to come to an understanding of what we want to do. I do know Mike Smith read each strategy and discussed what we were doing under it, and we would take a group each meeting and discuss them. And I'm not sure how productive that was. So I have some concerns about that, but my question is, who is responsible for doing this? I thought it was Mrs. Spicer, not Mr. Gollum.
I asked Ms. Spicer, would she like to do that, and she agreed to do that. Yes.
I just feel like we're stepping on toes to take this task away from Mr. Spicer, and we're taking it away from her to decide how to do it the way she thinks is appropriate.
Now,
Can I make comment?
Mr. Chairman, sorry, you have a motion on the floor, if we're gonna get into discussion.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, there you go.
I started looking in the paper to see how comp plan checkpoints would be accomplished. Mike Smith had his way of doing it, the mind of an engineer, who knows? My way is very simple. And when I saw that something was completed in the comp plan naturally by the county, I thought it was important to point it out. My way of doing it shows that there's just great harmony between the comp plan and the way the county is living its life naturally. And to break it down into priorities and strategies and objectives, that loses me. I like the natural objective, it's an end goal, it happened. Enough said. That was my way of doing it.
could I ask a question? Does anybody feel that it's a responsibility of the commission to, as a body, review these strategies? One of the things that's in the comp plan, objective 11.1.7, is continued support of the comprehensive plan process to ensure that the citizens of Oconee County possess accurate inventories and analysis of existing county conditions and the opportunity to better manage future conditions. Also, the question becomes directed to staff, Mr. James, because I feel like you're involved, even if you're, and you should be giving us some support to this. One of the reasons why Mike did a lot, Mr. Smith, who was the chairman at the time, did a lot of work on his own at home is because we didn't have a director at the time. So now that you're here and settled into the position, I would look to you to be a really good resource to us to not only bring some of these things to us, but to help us in organizing it. Like, for example, I don't know if you've looked back at what these 5 categories are, but if you did, you would probably agree that this is a good way to go through the process of reviewing the strategies that are set out for the year 2023. But I'd like to hear what response you have on that, please, James.
Ultimately, this office, our office, is the ones that are responsible for the comprehensive plan. So we're responsible for updating it annually and then making our 5-year update and then for the next comprehensive plan. So whether or not y'all take it on, it has to get done, and we would ultimately be the body that does take care of it.
That's the first I've heard of that. When this came up at our last meeting, it would have been helpful if you could have mentioned that along the way. I feel like I'm, the only one that is wanting to be persistent at doing the job of reviewing. So if I'm the only one, then we can continue with the way Ms. Spicer has been doing it and rely on our staff to be responsible, as James said.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would like to ask Ms. Spicer if, in regard to this item number 2, population, and item number 3, housing, if any of these we have or already organically accomplished. And if so, that might expedite some of that. The second statement I'd like to make is that this document is the goals, objectives, and strategies of the county citizenship at large. We asked ourselves 2 months back, what would we like to accomplish or see accomplished by this council for the year? And that's great and good, of what we would like, but this is what the citizens said that they wanted to see accomplished by the county over the next 10 years, with several items that we've determined to be of a 2023 importance. So whatever we do, I do think that we should, as a group, at least review the things that are due this year to find out if either, one, they've organically been accomplished, or two, if we need to do something, or even if we can do something. Some of these we can't even facilitate. Some of them are just, but the conversation is, I think, important that we're acknowledging to the citizens that we do see that this is important. We really don't have any control over it, but acknowledge it anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Gahn, I would disagree with you in that I don't think you're the only one interested in achieving or looking at a review, I guess, by virtue of the fact that I bring forward checkpoints that have been accomplished as proof that I'm also interested. That's why I reported to the commission to keep everybody abreast in case they didn't get to see the articles that I saw. Secondly, according to the comp plan, to your point, Mr. Johnson, it is a duty of the commission to review all these things for the annually and ongoing and specified to the year. It's also, it says in there that a presentation has to be made to council by somebody, giving kind of an update on where we are. So we'll be mindful of all that.
I was interested enough in reviewing the plan and looking at what was called for 2023. If my list would be helpful to anyone, James, Ms. Spicer, anyone else, I'd be glad to share it with you.
I'd be happy to distribute that to everybody if you'd like me to.
I would like to hear Ms. Spicer's synopsis of the first two categories as to things that we've already accomplished, and I would like to hear your input to those, and then if we have any additions from there, I think we've accomplished it.
Okay.
That's just my personal thought.
Yours.
All right. So going numerically, 2121, is that the first one?
Yep.
We agree?
I had,
Monitor demographic patterns in the county and its municipalities in order to respond to growth and the changing needs of residents, especially special populations. I don't have anything for that necessarily.
excuse me, Ms. Spicer, you asked a question, I would like to answer it. The answer is no, I don't think that's the first one. The first one is 2.1.1.1.
That's what I just read.
She just missed the
She
numbers.
just missed the numbers.
What did I say?
Okay, I'm sorry.
21, just-
Oh, sorry, 2111. Sorry.
I've got a statement on that one. So one of the things we're doing ongoing is that kind of addresses that issue is we're trying to address high-density developments. I think that falls in partly into that category. Another one is tonight, we're going to discuss affordable housing. I think both of those are inputs to strategy 2.1.1. They're not fully address it, but at least they're inputs.
I would agree. Can we move to the next one?
All right, before we do, we're gonna have to have a motion and a vote to say we've reviewed that particular strategy.
Well, I think the way we've done it in the past was.
That's the way we've done it in the past. I was here through all of Mike Smith's chairmanship. The whole time he was on Plan Commission, that's exactly how he did it. We did a,
With all due respect, Mr. Chair, I believe there's other people that might agree. I think Mr. Nix mentioned earlier that we went through, and then at the end, we packaged it and had a motion and said that we had reviewed all of those. I think that's a more efficient way to do it.
whatever y'all want.
So is there a motion on the floor?
No,
No.
we'll keep going until
Going?
Mr. Volin decides we've got enough.
All right, 2112. Coordinate and collaborate with regional agencies, neighboring jurisdictions to share demographic data and update population projection and methodologies. It says ACOG, I mean, that's mostly an ACOG thing, right? Yeah. 2121. create economic opportunities for residents and potential residents through recruitment and retention of industries and businesses. The OEA, the Oconee Economic Alliance, is active in this area in terms of recruitment and retention of industries. Borg Warner just announced a $42 million expansion.
Wait, we don't even have that one.
2121?
No. Ours is 2122.
Was 2121 a 2023 or ongoing or a future?
2121's an ongoing.
We
Why do I have it? You guys don't have it?
don't have it.
Well,
Well, thanks for reporting.
it's ongoing. 2122, you got that one?
We got that one.
All right. Develop and promote policies and programs that improve economic opportunity for residents and potential residents. Ripple One is alive and well out there. They take, I don't know how you say it, I guess low income or at need people, coach them, life coach them, get them to, provide them a mentor and get them to be self-sufficient, live on their own. That would satisfy that one.
Well, that has nothing to do with like future residents, does it? I mean, the people are.
But it's developing economic need for residents
It's
and
just for
potential, so
residents
it's for
and
one or the
potential
other.
residents.
I know, okay.
2123, moving on, develop opportunities to provide or encourage entertainment and recreation options that are attractive to young adults and families. In the park sense, there's different waterfalls that are advertised every week. That's a great family entertainment option. Bookends, where's Bookends?
They are fixing to improve one of our county parks, better camping.
Yep, Shaw Rams
Well,
on the
it's gonna
list.
take a while, but at least they've started with it.
There are a lot of library programs, and then Bookends is a multicultural, interactive reading program. Anyway, I got that, so that's a check off. 2124, interface with the school district of Oconee County, private schools, Clemson, TriTech, to optimize educational quality and advance training opportunities. There's a State Farm agent who reached out to TriTech for an intern and hired her, and she's on her way. So that was good news. I got that one right out of the paper, if I could find it.
Also have a new state-of-the-art facility for vocational training, Highway 11.
Yep. So is it 3121? Is that where we are now? Or
2131.
2131.
2131, okay. Seek partnerships to assess the unmet needs of alternative populations and develop strategies and leverage resources. There's a Ride to Work ministry that provides low-cost rides. It's a nonprofit. The mission is to provide temporary transportation to residents of Oconee to go to work. It's a fee-for-service, low-cost ride. We got that. We have Our Daily Bread. We have certain nonprofits that provide and do fundraisers for, say, Seneca Sertoma Club raises money to send kids to camp. The Knights of Columbus sends money to Tribble. It helped them sponsor a Special Olympics event a week ago. Wild Heart Equine also raises money. So there's a lot going on out there in this section.
Some of those actually fall into 2132 as well.
Yep, provide opportunities for local service agencies and organizations to explore efforts to prevent and eliminate homelessness and provide needed services for the county's homeless population, right? The Golden Corner Food Pantry does that, and Hope Methodist does it in Utica. 2212, support access to adequate health care facilities and services for all segments of the population to reduce the incidence and high costs associated with chronic health conditions for local residents, geriatric care, and accessible care for veterans. The the Clemson Clinic in Walhalla is a clinic available for free. You don't have to have insurance to go there. Provides all kinds of care. The Rosa Clark Clinic up here in Seneca also
And Walhalla,
does that.
they're opening up a new Rosa Parks Clinic here in
That's right,
Walhalla.
they're expanding there. That's right. 2221, is that what you guys got next?
Yep.
Create a safe and healthy environment for education and socialization for students at all levels. Library is full of programs for this. The Hispanic Heritage Festival was a big festival in Clemson, and that offered a chance for people to come together and socialize under a whole different kind of cultural big tent theory. That was good. Review and update the county's population element at least once in 5 years. That's not us. That's not a commission. 2311 is not a commission, I don't think.
It's a staff element, correct?
Is that you, James? 2313, am I skipping around?
Nope, that's
Nope,
it.
you're there.
Foster ongoing coordination and communication among Oconee County municipalities, neighboring jurisdictions on a wide range of issues, including land use planning, facilities planning, transportation, and the extension of upgrade of utilities.
One good example of that is the May 5th meeting between Planning Commission, County Council, and
Yeah,
OJRSA. So that's a big one.
that's good.
All right, that's all in the population section. I hear a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have covered the population element, and have no further, how do I want to make that motion?
Discussion.
I'll make a motion that we've covered the population element and have no further discussion on it.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, ma'am. Housing.
Hold on. Here's the Seneca State Farm. So 3221, is that where we are?
3121?
3121.
3121, work with public and private agencies and organizations to assess the housing and associated needs of senior citizens. There was a senior living expo at Shaver. Don't know if that counts or not, but that was drawing citizens from 50 industries, healthcare, finance, home remodeling, healthy living, and more. Sponsored that. That's okay with you guys, I'll move on. 3122, encourage and promote housing development that would allow the county's older residents to age in place, such as higher density, single-family, multifamily developments, assisted living, and nursing facilities.
We are discussing that today.
Yeah, I honestly don't think we've done I don't know exactly what the government's role in that is, but I honestly don't think we've done much on that.
No, I think we need more senior facilities, especially as retirees come, more memory care, more
But is that
stuff like that.
is that a private industry or private item, or is there some reason the county should be involved?
Our control would be under the density element of it. It would be the developer that would do it, but our discussion part would be in the high density, that terminology as far as either restricting it or not restricting it.
Okay. May I move on?
Go ahead.
3212, encourage and promote the development of housing options that are affordable for low and middle income families. On Monday, I met with the board for Habitat for Humanity. This was great timing. They gave me an update on where they're going and what their plans are. They have behind Edwards Ford, they have a 3-phase project going on. One phase has been completed, phase 2 and 3 They want help with extending a sewer line to that project. But they might get up to 50 homes back there between the two parcels. And then there's a church in Walhalla that's donated some land for another 5. So they've done about 140 homes since the late 80s. Slow in coming, but there's an extensive review and interview process. They don't take every applicant that comes and applies. They have 250 sweat equity hours. They have to take financial classes online. They have to go to Home Depot and take classes to learn what a circuit breaker box is and stuff like this. So they soup to nuts on how to be a homeowner. So they're doing good work, and they are truly addressing the affordable income housing market.
Well, the other thing is we just received our annual training on some of the strategies used by larger counties on affordable housing. I'm not sure how much it's applicable here, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we did that, and also we're going to discuss that tonight.
Moving on, 3215, encourage affordable housing development in opportunity zones identified in Oconee County. Don't have much there. James, correct me if I'm wrong, but the opportunity zones in the county there's 2 of them? Is that right?
There's one that I know of.
Two.
There's 2. It's the lake and,
It's in Newry and over on the other side of Seneca.
the other side of Seneca.
Basically, the old mill building.
Yeah.
The whole area. It's the
Oh,
whole
oh, oh, oh.
precinct. There are 2 voting precincts.
Utica.
Yep. Got to work on Utica. 3216, protect existing neighborhoods from incompatible uses that could reduce safety and lower property values through consistent enforcement of zoning and subdivision regulations. This comes into the self-zoning, if we could get people to do it. The beauty of self-zoning is not only protecting your own land, but it protects you from your neighbors. They might do. That's that. 3216. Okay, 3221, so there's nothing I can
3217.
point to on that one, to be honest.
3217 is the next one.
3217, oh, that one. Promote and encourage development within defined opportunity zones featuring either mixed use or affordable housing elements. Not much to say there. Moving on, encourage the expansion of water and sewer infrastructure facilities to increase opportunities for new residential development and provide service for existing residential areas that are currently unserved. I guess all the new sewer south satisfies that one. Am I right? You guys good?
Going back to 3217, I know we didn't say much on it.
Yeah.
Promote and encourage development within defined opportunity zones featuring either mixed use or affordable housing elements. So, as y'all know, the county council just voted down a mixed use development. So, I'll just say this on these goals and objectives. We don't always meet one goal and objective for reasons created by a conflicting goal and objective. For example, we may not want to do 3217 as much as we think because in certain cases, and this was a good example, it puts stress on infrastructure that's already stressed, i.e. the sewer line, the sewer path from eastern Oconee County in the 123 corridor to Conaross. So just keep that in mind is we have, when you're working on one strategy, it may conflict with another strategy.
That's a good point, thank you. 3221, is that right? Encourage the expansion, no, just did that one. 3224, work with state housing authority and other relevant agencies to assess the extent of the shortage of housing affordable for low and moderate income residents in the county and identify potential possible solutions to alleviate the housing. We don't work with the state housing authority. Is that you?
I mean, we don't have any going on.
Okay. Is that an NA, not applicable? 3225, review and amend land use and development regulations and other relevant requirements and procedures to remove potential barriers and provide incentives for the provision of safe, decent, affordable housing for Oconee County families.
That we're doing now.
That's
Discussions on that?
perfect that's ongoing because we're doing it. 3311, is that right, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Support and encourage participation in the annual point-in-time homeless count to determine the extent of homelessness in Oconee County in the effort to prevent and eliminate homelessness. The Seneca Police Department did a great job with this earlier. I reported on that. They were working with the homeless. They took them to get IDs. They were trying to relocate them with their family. So we gave a shout out to Seneca PD for their great job in helping with this.
Has the county ever done anything like that to help the homeless? They had little programs like Seneca had.
Yeah, the county supports several of those things, especially in the Utica community.
Okay, moving along, 3313, encourage cooperation between agencies, nonprofits, private developers to meet the housing needs of other special populations, such as individuals with alternative needs and victims of domestic violence. A couple things we got going on here. Safe Harbor is a service where people can call. It's anonymous. You get some counseling on the phone, and if you need to be relocated because you're in a dangerous situation, they can relocate you to a law enforcement area and take you to a safe house. So that's in Pickens and Inno County, and that's a free service. And Tomasi DAR meets the housing needs of special populations such as victims of domestic abuse, their Starlight program. So that's being taken care of. Am I going on to 4?
Need a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to
The
move
motion that was
we,
passed, sir, the motion that was passed was sections 2 and 3.
Okay.
Correct?
No, it was only for 2.
You said 2 and 3?
Yeah,
well, we meant 2 and
which
3.
and we've done two.
And we've done 2 and 3, so, but
Oh,
I think first
I
we're
see.
looking for a motion, and I'd move that we accept the fact that we reviewed all of the ones that are necessary within number 3, which is housing.
Second.
Any discussion?
That was way better than what I said.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Sorry, who was the second on that? I apologize, I missed it.
Next.
Thank you, sir.
All
Mr.
right, do
Nix.
we continue, or do you want to start with 4 at our next meeting?
Let's start with 4 on the next meeting, I think. Let somebody move to continue.
We'll
You got it
start
good?
with housing on our next meeting.
Economics?
All right,
No.
economic, and just for agenda purposes, put 4 and 5 and 6 as an agenda item,
Got a
okay?
motion?
I'll make a motion that we, on the next agenda, which will be May 15th, we added an agenda item to discuss number 4, economics, number 5, cultural resources, and number 6, natural resources.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Our next item, number 10, is discussion regarding prioritizing of commission goals. You have a list on the back of the backup material on the last page. Does anyone want to add to that, or anyone have a list of how they want them organized?
Go ahead.
I just have a comment. Density standards, where we're headed right now, and I don't know if we need to discuss this as a priority. Where we're headed right now is a targeted revision to our ordinances to try to limit large subdivision, housing development, commercial ones, well, for resale, housing development densities. And I know that, the reason I put that forth was because we had an outcry across the community and across the political spectrum wanting that. However, I would point out that our next agenda item, affordable housing, we're in direct conflict with that in promoting that ordinance change. So I think we need to, at some point, maybe it's the next agenda item, number 11, we need to discuss what are our priorities? Do we really need to worry about, is there a way to limit density and not adversely affect affordable housing? Because I don't think there is. So, I mean, we're deciding the direction of the county, that's what we're doing
Well,
on that issue.
But are you assuming affordable housing is,
I'm assuming that affordable housing, the affordability of housing is directly proportional to how small the lot size and how dense you can build houses is.
That is correct.
well, the Habitat's doing it without being affected. If the Habitat is to continue its business model, it wouldn't be affected by your proposed change.
Not the Habitat, but that's just a small piece of what we're talking about.
But they're the only ones doing it. There's
But
no
it-
other affordable housing going on, right?
Well, when we say affordable housing, we're not just talking about affordable housing. We're talking about, well, not Habitat affordable housing. We're also talking about any housing we build, making it affordable. I think Habitat housing is pretty much low income, correct?
What's that?
But
So when you say affordable, you're doing is it 30% AMI? Is that what you're doing?
well, I don't know that I thought that deeply about the AMI part, but
Go ahead, Mike.
So there's affordable housing and there's workforce housing.
Yeah.
Affordable housing can include things like Habitat, but it also includes apartment complexes and things of that nature. That could be
Sure.
rentals as well as purchase and own. And so there's more than just Habitat actually working on an affordability of housing. But what we can either step in the way of, or what we can allow, would also include apartment complexes, commercial type areas, sewer access type projects, things like that. We're either providing restrictions and gates up against something like that, which would be us being against affordable housing, or we can be very conscientious of the decisions we are making, where we're trying to take single-family home, high-density development, where the developer's clear-cutting all the trees, changing the topography, and putting postage stamp lots. We need to make sure we're being targeted in what we're going after and not restricting affordable housing with regard to the availability of apartment complexes or Habitat. Habitat, again, being a one in singles is
It's slow.
a slower process so we need to be cognizant or aware at least of the decisions we're making and while we're thinking they're affecting one thing, are they alternately affecting other things as well?
Are you aware of,
Mr. Chair, there's certain people who are raising their hands, but people
sorry.
aren't letting us speak. So, I mean,
Go
I had my hand up a little while ago.
Go
You
ahead.
okay if I speak now?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to try to put you at ease, Mr. Nix, because I agree with what you said. You can't, change the density without affecting affordable housing. Basically, that's true. That doesn't mean that we can't have it as a priority. And for an example, we haven't really defined what affordable housing is in our county. If we want to try to get our heads around it, we need to talk about that. The other thing is, nobody knows right now, that I know of, how much affordable housing we actually need. So, those are a couple things that could be a high priority to get that information, even though we do know that changing density is going to affect it.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I have this printout, I don't know if you know, I was surprised to find out kind of the inventory of low-income housing affordable housing that we already have in the county. And this is Guide to Affordable Housing in Seneca. There are 14 low-income housing apartment communities offering 760 affordable apartments in Seneca. Seneca features 458 income-based apartments. Tenants pay no more than 30% of their income. There are 283 rent-subsidized apartments that do not provide direct rental assistance but remain affordable to low-income households in Seneca. On average, Section 8 Housing Choice vouchers pay Seneca landlords $500 per month towards rent. The average voucher contributes $300 in Seneca. And in the paper, there were some advertised, and I just kept a running list as I saw, and I called, and some are Section 8 and some are affordable, but Greenfield Apartments, Hunter Oaks, Hunter Street Apartments, Sloan Street Housing, Seneca, it goes on and on. Applewood Villas has 50 units, Spring Valley Elderly Housing, Mountain Trace. I mean, we have some, it's not like we have none. I don't know, to your point, what we need to build, there's a bunch going on already. That's all, just making that point, there's some out there.
One more statement, unless somebody had their hand up first. And I ashamedly left my notes at home on a desk, but trying to remember those numbers, when affordable housing and then workforce housing, a couple of things to consider. For Oconee County, if you take the lake subdivisions out of the equation, the average price of a home in Oconee County is somewhere in the neighborhood of $270,000. To hit a 30% of income, that's an $89,000 income per family to afford that 270 under today's interest rates. If you include like a state or a county typically would, which I excluded the lake from that, but if you put the lake back in it and just say Oconee County in general, which is how the counties would look at things, it's at 340 instead of the 280s as far as the average price of a home in this county, which brings it well over the $80,000 family income. So we really need to be, in my opinion, looking at workforce housing potentially as well, because workforce housing, if we're out there trying to recruit industry and we can't recruit the people to serve that industry will not come here and it will start going away.
We are talking about prioritizing this list that's on the end of our agenda, the backup material. We've already skipped that totally and went into affordable housing discussion. Let's get back to prioritizing these goals, and then we can get into the affordable housing talk.
The only other thing that has become very aware to me and scary is this whole thing about AI and where that might go in the future. So I'm suggesting that we at least put it on the radar, because how we react to companies like Google coming in and wanting to offer things that might destroy basically everything we've got on the internet, and or if you want to read a book and you think it's been authored by a person, but it turns out that a machine wrote the book, you don't necessarily even know the difference, all these kind of things. But anyway, I thought if we had it on our list, which I can understand why some people wouldn't, but it seems to me that people need to become aware of it. And if we become aware of the dangers, we're here to protect the citizens of Oconee County. If we're aware of the dangers, that gives us leadership ability to try to make decisions that would protect people in our county.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Brett.
after reading through this list and the comprehensive plan and all that, I have a question of, is there a contingency plan for the county if things hit the fan? If the dollar crashes, where it's heading right now, You know, or is there a plan in the county for what services are we gonna have available? And what aren't we gonna have available? You know, is there funds being set aside? Or are we just spending everything?
That would be a question for our administrator or council, but probably the administrator.
That's not a planning?
Well,
So emergency management keeps the COOP, which is the continuation of operations plan for the county. That's part of the emergency management documents.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I just didn't see anything in the comprehensive plans or any emergency plans and,
So the emergency management department has all of it, so they have a lot of readings, so like the emergency management plan, a debris management plan. They
Okay.
have natural and man-made disaster emergency management plans, the continuation of operations for government, so there's,
yeah, I'm thinking more economic things, but go ahead. You know, okay.
okay, back to prioritizing this list as it stands, or if y'all want to add to your particular goals. I mean, or do y'all want to put this on the next agenda and think about it in the next 2 weeks and come up with a prioritized list of items that you want to accomplish this year and move right on to affordable housing?
I move that we accept what Mr. Nix had motioned last meeting. And I don't really care that much about listing them as far as which is the highest priority. I just think we need a list of the things that are a priority for us to try to tackle. So the only addition I would say is is to include number 7 as AI, or make number 6 generic. Instead of saying traffic safety, let's just use the word safety. And I think AI can fit under safety, and along with a number of other things that may become even more apparent to us as we go through the year. But, so I'm gonna make the decision and strike traffic, and just use the word safety for number 6. So I'm using our minutes from last meeting to address this. So my motion, I moved to accept Mr. Nix's prioritized goals, 1 through 6, changing number 6 to safety. Somebody second that? Mr. Nix, I thought you might second.
I'm struggling with the number 6 being number 6 if it's safety.
Well, it becomes
Number 6 is
generic.
safety. Generically, safety is always our highest priority.
True.
Can
Good point.
can I make a motion or a comment?
Well, we need if we don't get a second on this, then Chair needs to.
I'll second it just for, open up for discussion.
I object to the idea of changing traffic safety to safety because, A, that was my goal, and I wanted to specify traffic safety. I've already done the report, and I've met with Lance Estep from ACOG and done a study of kind of collisions and intersections and funding for that. So I want it to stay the way it is.
Mr. Chair, I withdraw my motion.
Could you restate your motion and the first part of it and just add it as number 7?
Somebody else
AI.
can. I made a motion, I withdrew it. Someone else, whatever you want to do, go ahead.
I'm good with Mr. Nix's 6 levels of items. I don't know that they're necessarily, we can prioritize them or not, but I do think we need to add then the AI discussion this year
Number 7.
as an item number 7.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we'll start with Mr. Nix's order there. All right, let's move on to affordable housing. Mr. Galvin, I'm going to turn this one over to you since
You have a public comment.
Well, I'll be glad to start discussion.
let's do Mr. Markovich first. Let him speak, and then we'll go into our discussion.
For the record, I am Tom Martin. Imagine me talking about affordable housing. Affordable housing has been something that's been near and dear to my heart for the last, I don't know how long I've been in business, as long as I've been in business. And it's interesting because I've always built high-end houses. I built at the very highest levels. Some people can't even imagine some of the money that people that I have built or have spent on a house. They can't even fathom the idea. But I know for a fact that until somebody can get in their first home, they're never going to appreciate those homes that come down the line. You have to be able to get in that first home. And the only way you do that is if there's affordable housing available in your community and there's jobs to support those people who can get into those houses. I thought it was very timely for the council to last month pass a resolution about affordable housing. And to me, that first whereas, and it kind of speaks to everything. Oconee desires that all of its citizens be afforded the opportunity and to attain a decent, safe, sound living environment. To me, those are critical things, and that's all, to me, affordability and attainability. These are issues for workforce housing. I don't get caught up in what we're talking about for the lowest levels of people who have no income, who need a house. I understand that. We have homeless people that need housing. We have people who are especially the people who need habitat. And then we've got people who are actually workforce. We've got young teachers. We have young law enforcement. We have a lot of young people who are just entering the workforce. They're not making $80,000 a year. I watch the sales of property in Oconee County, and most of the new housing that's being sold isn't even close to being affordable at this time. That's not to say that you wouldn't be able to go out there and find maybe some resales or something like that, not necessarily new housing, but you might find some resales, or you may be able to go out on an old country road somewhere and find some properties. But I think strongly about, and I totally agree with what the county wants to do in terms of our law enforcement people, our sheriff's department, and the raises that they want them to have so that they can attract more law enforcement people with experience to come to this county. Raising their wages to $44,000 is a start. But giving them more money isn't a total solution. If you can't afford to live here, you're still not coming. It doesn't matter if they give them $55,000. If you cannot afford to live here, you're not going to sit there and commute back and forth for $44,000. Why would you do that? So it becomes one of these issues that it's always going to be affordable housing is about to me is about workforce housing, and not just the sheriff's department. It is about teachers. It is about everyone else. It's about the secretaries that work in my office and other offices. It's about all these different people who are at an affordability level that they need housing that they can go out and, number one, come up with a 20% down payment. If a house is $300,000, all of a sudden a $60,000. How many young people have a $60,000 down payment? There's just so many different issues that tie into this. But I guess the main issue for the Planning Commission is this, and Mr. Nix is right. You can't look at density and not have an impact on affordability of housing. Because when it comes down to the amount of the lots and the amount of asphalt that's in front of that house, the amount of sewer that's in front of that house, the amount of water, the amount of the power line, the amount of everything else that goes for that house, it all has to work out. It all has to be a mechanism. And then when it comes down to, we've talked about single family, but, a lot of times we're gonna end up having to talk about multifamily type housing and how is density going to affect it. So these are all things that, to me, the idea of affordable housing is it's a huge discussion. It's not that simple as just coming up with a mechanism to rezone the property and come up with a way to force people into bigger densities, or smaller densities, actually. I understand why and where what the commission is trying to do in some ways. At the same time, I know what an impact it's going to have on housing. There's no question about it. I see it every day. I know what happens to the prices. And as the lots get bigger and bigger, so does the expense. And so we always need to keep this in mind. The other thing is that I don't know what was totally behind the issue with the council when they turned down the housing development for students, but it wasn't about the students, I do know that. For the mere fact that you had a 5-0 vote from a council that never votes 5-0 tells you that there was something else going on there. And so, anyway, I think it's really interesting that y'all have talked about the population part of the comprehensive plan and the housing part of the comprehensive plan. But let's understand this, the council is very clear. They want all kinds of housing for all kinds of people, but they do not want students. So regardless of what this plan says, the comprehensive plan about housing for all kinds of students, it doesn't include college students. So they made that very clear, and that's what I'm going to part with. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll open up the discussion.
Well, I'll be the first to admit that I don't know a lot about the subject matter. And so what I'm learning is that with inflation and everything, you've got these houses in our county, and people that can afford them will actually drive costs up because the market is where that if you want a house, you better get it quick because the demand is so high and there's not enough housing in some places. So what ends up happening is, and even what's going on with inflation and everything, you've got a lot of rentals that are going up. And so where someone may have a couple of years ago felt pretty comfortable, now with inflation and everything, they're just like, wow, I'm gonna have to go and pay $200 more a month. And that's after I end up, an increase last year. I just can't afford this place I'm living in anymore. And then they get out and start looking and they can't find anything else. And these are people like Tom was talking about. They're administrative assistants, they're teachers, they're firemen, they're law enforcement officers, people who we think of as, what we have to have in our community, living with us to sustain the economy and to sustain protection and that kind of thing. So that's why I feel like it's a topic that is urgent. Other people like me who don't know it enough need to be learning more, and I'm hoping what we can do through this discussion is, we can ask for information from any department within the county, and they have to provide us the information we request. Okay, so that gives us the power to gather information. So what I feel like we need to do in this discussion is to figure out what information do we need. Now, we're all, very anxious to start the discussion because we went off base on our priorities and started talking about affordable housing. If affordable housing it doesn't include workforce housing, then we need to be talking about both of them on our agenda. But I'm interested in hearing what other people have to say. But I mean, what I feel like's happening is people are dropping out of affordable, of places where they used to could afford, but now they can't afford it. Their salaries, their income has not gone up enough to maintain. And so that's a very difficult situation that people are being put in. And, I'm not trying to blame the landlords. I'm not trying to blame the market for getting what they can for a house that they're in business to make a profit. I understand that. But, there are resources out there in other counties that people are working on this. And, and it's the builders. It's people that have a warm heart, like Tom said he had, that feel for people who can't afford to live where their job is. So I'll stop there, and I'd love to hear what other people have to say.
I took a tour of the Newry Mill a couple months ago, and some of those, I'm just pointing out that the county has started in this workforce housing inventory, that part of those units are designated for workforce housing in the mill. X number per floor, don't know the number, but in talking with the woman who gave the tour, they worked with HUD and got some tax exempt situation where they could afford to do that. And when you get in on day one, new teacher, it's mine, and as long as I live in it, I'm at that reduced rent versus, which would be cheaper than my neighbors in the mill. Just pointing it out.
That's through the state.
But the point is, the county has some workforce housing in a project that's due to open soon. It was supposed to be last November.
Dave.
Here's the bottom line. The best thing that the government can do for workforce housing and affordable housing is get out of the way. That means no more ordinances, nothing that would affect the ability to build affordable housing. And that's the bottom line. So anything we do here is going to affect it, probably in a negative fashion. That's just reality. Do we have a shortage of affordable housing in this county? I would say absolutely yes. As a landlord, right now, there's way more demand than there is supply. And I'm sure there's others in the audience that can speak to that. So that's all I've got.
I actually got two things. Just for clarification, so the county's involved in rent control of the mill homes?
No.
Oh, well, explain that to me again.
I was just saying there are workforce units already available in the county.
Right, and in the,
That's all. Just pointing out the inventory of it's begun.
but
It's not like we have zero.
I thought I understood you state that if the school teacher moved into that apartment, that they kept that same rent until she moved out.
Correct.
So that's rent control.
The same way with Section 8.
That's how Newry is operating it.
That's HUD doing it.
Okay, so that's not the county.
It's not the county here, that's actually the state and federal stuff that's mixed in, and they give them those
Yeah,
benefits.
I was just curious about that. I was making sure I understood that correctly because it did not work out in New York. And the thing is, we're talking about affordable housing, and there's more than just ordinances that is tying down the affordability of housing. The more restrictions we put on, it is going to cost more. But it's also the lack of the infrastructure. It's hard for a person to move out into a rural area where land is cheap if there's not already existing utilities there. that's, if we really want to reduce the cost of housing, that's an area that the county needs to look at, is the infrastructure that's provided in the rural areas where the land is cheaper. There's a great opportunity with Salem Water, run down through Highway 11. There's other areas where it can run into. But I think it has to be looked at, affordable housing has to be more than just what can we do for is don't regulate. It's also what can we do to help reduce the cost? What burdens are we put in place for those individuals wanting to go out there and get their first home? You know, those are things that I think that we need to really look at.
Greenville County has affordable housing, do they not? Or they say they do. I guess the economy is a lot different there than it is here. I understand that part. But I understand we need to have some rule, we need, to me, okay, I'll just put it in my personal opinion, we need some rules where our county doesn't turn out to be nothing but housing developments that have 6 houses on an acre. To me, that's not even safe. One house catches on fire, all 6 of them are gone. If you got 6 houses on an acre. I don't care how you look at it, that's the way it is. Affordable housing here is not the same as Greenville, Anderson, Charleston, the videos that we saw during our little education thing we had to take the other week or so. We've got to come up and find out what would affordable housing be here? Is it 150,000 for a home, for a starter home? Is it 230? Is it 280? What is it? But we can't tell a developer, hey, you got to build those affordable houses. You got to build all of your houses. They have to be affordable where people can buy them. He's going to build them to where he thinks people can buy them. He's going to build a house and charge, let's say he builds the house, he charges $500,000 for it because he thinks he can get that. That's what he's going to build houses for. He's not going to build them for cheap because he's losing money. Lumber is not cheap. So he's got so much money tied up in it, he's got his margin he's got to make. We can request subdivisions. I've seen it in other areas, other states, other parts of the United States, where they tell us a developer, 20% of your homes have to be affordable. The rest of them you can do whatever, I guess. But you have to have 20% of them to be affordable. But we have to come up with what is affordable in this county. We can't just say, hey, it has to be affordable. Well, maybe affordable to him is 200,000. Maybe it's 250,000. We have to, that's one reason we were trying to work on development standards, because we have no development standards. I don't care what everybody says. You've got a little stack of papers about this thick. Those are not development standards. Pickens County has development standards. Greenville has development standards. Anderson, everywhere there's development standards, we don't have any. A developer comes in here and he does what he wants to. He buys the land, he does what he wants to with that land. If he wants to put, if it's not zoned, because we're all unzoned for the most part, so he can put 6 or 8 houses on that acre if he can put them on there, if he has sewer. If he doesn't have sewer, then he has to allow a little extra room for septic tanks and lines and drainage and things like that. But that's the development standard type stuff that I want to get into development standards. I'm not saying we don't want people to come in our county. We do. I sort of disagree with Mr. Markovich about the students. We don't mind students. We just don't want the council was, I don't know exactly what their reasoning were, but it's not that they don't want students, that don't want student housing. Maybe they just didn't want that particular one. I don't know what the deal was with it, but we want people in the county, but we don't want our county to be so congested with nothing but development. This is a rural county. I've been here going up pretty close to 65 years, and it's always been rural. I understand growth is coming, but we would like to keep it That's why people come to Oconee County. It's not because that it's 2 seconds to the grocery store. It's because they can live out in the country. They can farm and do what they want to out on their land. We just have to have, some kind of standard to say, okay, you can build what you want, but these are the rules you've got to go by to do it. We've got building codes. Nobody's fussing about building codes. We've got electrical codes. Nobody fusses about that. We need some development codes, basically, to instruct these developers, say, okay, build your houses. But, we don't want them 2 feet apart. We want them spread out a little bit. Yes, it will probably affect the price of that home if the lots are bigger. But we've got to go somewhere with this. We can't just keep going, oh, we got to have workforce housing, we got to have affordable housing. We've got to come up with what is affordable in this county. What can the workforce in our county afford? The average, not the guys that's walking around telling everybody what to do, making the big bucks. I'm talking about he was saying, the administrative assistants, James, other people that are making 40, 45, maybe 50,000 a year. What can they afford? That's the type of standards we've got to come up with. Go ahead.
I wanted to mention something to James or ask him to get something for us, but I do want to just make sure that for the YouTube watchers and anybody in the audience, that when we talk about development standards, there actually are things that affect the development. The developer still has to, if he's building more than 11 homes, that road still has to fall under roads and bridges, still has to be built a certain way. When that developer builds that a certain way, there's a cost associated with it. Based on the number of homes, they may have to do a road study. Well, that extra $25,000 to $50,000 is affected by the development standards that we've put in place. By them having to do that, that's a cost that then is relayed to the cost of the home. Our setbacks, those all affect the cost of the home. So we've got 32, 38, and 26 with roads and bridges that are all standards that a developer has to read through and follow, pay the engineers, pay a whole host of engineers, stormwater runoff, a whole variety of things that fall into the cost of ultimately that person getting the keys to their house. So we do have standards that a developer has to follow now. No, it's not some of the things that we're wanting to implement, I completely agree with. But I don't want the audience to think that we don't have standards, because we do have a whole lot of things that a developer has to follow now that are causing the cost of the house to be what they are. I did have a question for James. Could you get us and I know I've seen it somewhere, I just don't know how to put my hands on it, the median income in Oconee County right now? And then if there's any way for the workforce age population of those people at or below median income? Is there a way to get that piece of information, or at least try to extrapolate it?
It's, we have the median from the 2020 still.
Okay.
So it's not today.
No, if you would just,
We've got those demographics as well.
if you could get some of those things that would help us so that we can sit there and go, okay, this is our median price, this is our median income. Are we there or are we not there? And that, I think, is at least a step one.
And Mr. Johnson, I was thinking that what we're really heading to is try to get staff support to help us with defining what affordable or workforce housing is in our county. And then the next thing is, how much of it do we need? So what I'm moving is to ask staff, James and his folks, to do that for us and bring us some information at our next meeting. So we can further discuss this, and the goal in my mind is to define what affordable or workforce housing is, and then how much of it do we need, or even how much do we have, and then how much do we need to supplement what we already have. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think that's great.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. You have in front of you a definition of affordable housing from the Code of Ordinances. If you've got a screen,
Yeah.
not with someone else.
Screen is turned off. I apparently turned the screen off. There we
It's also
go.
on
That's the kind of
Friday.
information if you could bring back to the next
Okay.
meeting. We don't know what we don't know. It's the case all the time, isn't it?
20% of
So we'll have this, continue this discussion on the next agenda. So is there,
I got a question,
Go ahead,
just
sir.
for maybe Jim. Annual household income, is that net or gross income,
Pre-tax.
pre-tax? Okay.
Gross, which is gross.
Chair, I move we adjourn.
Did I miss a comment period for the public?
Yes, sir.
we've already, our meeting started, this meeting actually started at 5, sir.
I make a motion that we
I
allow,
was fixing to say that. You can go
I make a
ahead.
motion that we allow the gentleman to comment.
You
State
can
his
come
name
up.
for the record.
There was already a motion on the floor to adjourn.
That's fine, I'll talk to county council tomorrow.
Well, no one's voted
All right,
on,
we have a-
no one's voted on whether or not we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sir, would you like, if you'd like to speak, you go right ahead.
I would.
I need a second to my motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Come on up, sir. 6-1.
With all due respect, I have to go.
On the second motion.
6-1 on
Who
the,
was the second?
I
I was.
Thank you.
All of us did.
I don't know if anybody
He
knows
had to
who I am,
get an appointment.
but I'm Dwight Baker, and I've developed in this county since 1980. I've been through a lot of planning and different changes over the years. And when the market crashed in '08, I went to Kentucky and bought about 1,700 acres, developed it. And when my heart got bad, I had open heart surgery, I decided to come back home and retire to Oconee County. I developed 14 different subdivisions: Parkview East, Parkview South, Heritage Shores, Edgewater Hills, Tabor, Pelican Cove, just several in this county, Anderson County, Hart County, over those 40 years. When I came back, there was 463 acres down in Fairplay that was for sale. And I had always wanted to buy it, but it had never been for sale until 2019. And I purchased the 5 different separate tracts. And I had developed the lakefront property, Lake Shore Village and Northeast Shores, and had always driven through this property. And so I bought the first tract as 18 acres, developed it, and the county approved it, the plat, within 2 days of me submitting it to them. And that was in March. In July, there was 49 acres. It was approved within 3 days. In tract 4, it was November of 2020. It was approved within 3 days. Then tract 3 was 162 acres. It was approved. There was 137 acres, tract 5. It was approved in August of 21. And tract 6 was 69 acre tract, and it was approved in January of 2022. The unfortunate thing is that Adam had left. Vivian carried the load during that period of time, and she was still able to approve those plats within 2 days. I brought a plat to James 4 weeks ago. I called him twice to get an update with no explanation of what's going on. I went to his office 8:30 last Friday and asked him what the status of it was. He tells me he's got 6 weeks. This is a very simple thing. This is 10 lots, 1-acre lots, on a paved state road. It is a secondary road. And he told me that, well, in the first meeting, he told me he had to submit this to the state for their approval. When in reality, Track 5 and Track 6 and 21 and 22 did not have to go through that. I just developed 128 acres in Anderson County. They don't make you go through that. I don't know of a county in the whole upstate that makes you go through a state approval for a state road, a secondary road with 35 mile an hour for 100-foot lots. These were all under the 10-lot rule. I know that when Vivian dealt with the Track 5, it was on Highway 182 and Feltman Road, part of it was. And Barbara requested that since I had a 50-foot right-of-way for 30-acre tract going back in there, she wanted to go with a 60-foot, which I thought was silly. And then, so when I did the next tract, the 69-acre tract on Feltman Road, I made the damn thing 66 feet, and she approved it. And so that stuff all went through. I don't know what the holdup is. Now, Vivian carried this load by herself and was still able to do the work. When she introduced me to Mr. Corley, that day, I give her that plat, and she approved it that day. He says that he can't do it because there's only 2 of them in the office. Now, his assistants, you can go to his assistant's office and look at her desk. It is clear. There's nothing on it. His desk is absolutely loaded up. I would just hate to see, I really want to see the county council and you all to, he may do things consistently, but he's not doing things consistently the way it's been done in Oconee County over the years. I'm very disappointed in it. I look forward to having this plat approved, and I hope that he can get to work on it. But I intend to speak in front of the county council tomorrow too. Thank you.
Yes, sir.